Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Brendan and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, it is great to have you. And the price of Bitcoin is getting ready to explode because over the last 8 weeks or so, Bitcoin has seen consistently lower swing highs and at the same time keeping higher swing lows. Now, when this is happening, this is creating a squeeze in the price action of Bitcoin, which is why we can see this rising level of support and this falling level of resistance. So what it's doing is it's rejecting off of resistance, but bouncing off of support in a manner that is just condensing and condensing into an even smaller area every time it rejects or bounces off of one of the following. So what this does is this squeezes the price action and sometimes even the volume until eventually it cannot be squeezed anymore, much like a volcano or something like that. It explodes in one direction. So today I want to take a look at which direction I think Bitcoin is going to explode, because typically these formations only go to about 75% of the way through and then they break out or break down in one direction. Now this guy is about 100% through its formation and it still has not broken out or broken down. So if any of that sounds interesting, make sure you guys stick around for the entire length of the video, as there will be important information discussed the entire way through. But let's go ahead and get on into this. So again, with Bitcoin squeezing like this isn't a squeeze that we have seen on Bitcoin in quite some time. Again, the last time that we saw a squeeze like this, Bitcoin had quite the substantial breakout or breakdown. You know, whenever something like this happens, it always tends to have that large repercussion move that happens afterwards. Now, people are arguing for both sides here, and you can understand why. I made the points for that in the previous video, but today I want to take a look at what is happening right now. So, of course, the one thing that I want to look at first is the volume. The volume over here has been falling off, and if we can actually switch this over to a 1-day time scale, we can see that even further. So I want to go ahead and highlight this as we do zoom it up, because we can see that the volume has been falling off, especially since the second half of September over in here and even moving into October. The volume right now is at a almost insignificant level. When we're seeing the volume get squeezed like this, and when I say volume get squeezed, that's kind of a play on words, but the price action is being squeezed, and we can see a reflection of that in the volume of Bitcoin. So when the volume is getting low like this, especially on the way that I have this trading view chart laid out, and the price action is also being squeezed, I am almost guessing that we can go ahead and look over here at our MACD and our RSI, and we're almost going to have a guaranteed sign of indicators pointing into a direction. Now, on the 1-day time scale, this is going to be the MACD actually pointing us into a form of triple bearish divergence. Now, how you want to measure this can actually be done a couple of different ways. You can go over here and say that this can be a form of triple bearish divergence, or in the least double bearish divergence. And going over to the MACD, or excuse me, the RSI, what we can actually see is that we bounce off of this area that we expected right around this 30 area, actually just at 33. And bounced off of this area. Now, this is obviously a very, very popular area of retracement, because this is the oversold territory, and Bitcoin and other assets tend to bounce off of this area so that they do not have to enter into that oversold territory. Now, this is just a big psychological thing. There is no absolute thing of this is oversold, this is overbought. It's more of a psychological area of either resistance or support, depending on what side of the spectrum you are on. Now, I do want to go ahead and move this over to the 4-hour chart, so we can take a little bit more of a in-depth view of what's been happening, because what we can see is, this consistently higher swing low method that has been happening on this 4-hour. Now, of course, we bottomed over here, we came back up, reached into that overbought territory, and then came back down. And where did we bounce off of? Well, one, we bounced off of this area being that oversold line of 30 on the RSI. We bounced off of it over here, but of course, we're bouncing off of it over here. Now, this is pretty significant because this is a higher swing low and bouncing off of a key area of support on this relative strength index. Now, I'm not charting this like it's a candle chart, but it doesn't take it doesn't take a genius to realize that there is a trend happening here, and that there are consistently higher swing lows on the relative strength index, otherwise known as the RSI. So what this is telling me is that Bitcoin is gaining strength as it is moving up here, but we can see that this is back into a very neutral territory, and kind of in this box over here, it's been hanging around here for the most part. We've been hanging around in this neutral territory for some time now, and anything is possible. Now, I do like the way that this is looking. The relative strength index on this 4-hour chart is looking more of a bullish perspective, while the MACD on that 1-day chart chart is looking more bearish, I would say. But again, the MACD is almost at a neutral point right now, and while there is a little bit of bearish divergence on that MACD, I would argue that the bullish divergence on this 4-hour chart is more convincing from a technical analysis standpoint. Over here on the MACD for the 4-hour chart, I would say that we actually even have double bullish divergence. If I'm looking at this now, it's just about played out, and of course the MACD is sitting almost at neutral right now, and we can just see how small these waves in the MACD are. They're even the wave itself and the oscillators, as I call them, our bands, are almost sitting on the exact level of neutrality without really even pointing one way or another. Again, they're pointing almost directly horizontally instead of up or down, and the same thing with the waves that we have on our MACD chart, not really pointing up or down. Now, again, they are pointing slightly upwards right now, and we do have that form of double bullish divergence, but this is, this is reflecting what is happening on this candle chart over here. The volume's falling off. A lot of these indicators and oscillators on both the 4-hour and the 1-day chart are showing that things are in an area of neutrality. They are in the medium zone where really a breakout or a breakdown could happen. Now, this is, what I believe to be the moment of truth. Now, there's a couple of ways to look at this, and you can kind of switch the way that you are highlighting your resistance here. And I say that because there are multiple ways to draw this, and this is just, this just happens to be the way that I have mine up. I like this because we can see multiple different touch points, and just kind of seeing that this as an area, even though it is not as not quite as clean as I would like it, we can see that there's a rejection 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4, and we can see that relatively along this line for the most part there is and has been rejection from the price action of Bitcoin. Now, the same thing goes for a vice versa. Over here we have seen a really solid support in my opinion. But with this, looking out over here, the EMAs on this 4-hour chart have been sideways for the most part for like over almost a month now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I can't even imagine what the Bollinger Bands are looking like. And maybe I think I actually have them pulled up over here. Yeah, I mean, the Bollinger Bands themselves are in a ridiculous squeeze, and it's almost weird to see this happening on a cryptocurrency chart, something that is notably volatile, something that is notably up 5%, up 10%, or down 7% or 12%. I mean, it's not unlikely for these things to do double-digit percent days, either to the up or the downside. And what we've seen is that these guys have actually been more of a safe haven as of lately than a lot of the traditionals, because they have been moving a lot more slower. Now, the exception was that for the first half of the year, it was very volatile to the upside, and then most recently to the downside over here. But with cryptocurrency in this big squeeze, again, I am anticipating that we are going to have a large move before October is up. Now, which way that is going to be, again, that's up for you guys to decide. I'm not here to give you guys legal, financial, or tax advice in any way. Of course, I do have my own opinions on this, and when in doubt, I am leaning bullish here. I think that the bullish evidence for Bitcoin, again, I'm a long-term bull on Bitcoin, so when in doubt, I believe that the trend is my friend, and that the trend of this, not only this year, but throughout history of cryptocurrency, the trend for the most part has been to the upside. So, this is one of those things where I am leaning bullish for, but again, I'm not your legal advisor. I'm not telling you what to do. It's nothing like that, just simply my opinion and me putting my thoughts into fruition. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this. I'm excited to see what's to come over here. Again, this is just an absolutely ridiculous squeeze, and it almost looks like we have a pennant inside of a pennant. And there's a lot to come. Now, if I was looking for a measured move on Bitcoin, maybe this is something that I'll touch on in my next video, but I am looking at resistance over here. I'm looking for Bitcoin to get back up to 11 to 12,000 area, probably up and over 11,000. It's going to have its initial resistance at around 11,000. Then after that, it's going to have its next real resistance at about just below $12,000. So I think that that is a good target to the upside on Bitcoin. And if this breaks down again, as I've talked about in the previous videos, there are several levels of support that we have in here, like 10.3, 10.2, and then ultimately anywhere between 10 and 9.8K. After that, it gets a little bit kind of hazy and dangerous, but I think that we're just going to have to take this one step at a time. And for the time being, I am going to lean bullish because I am a big fan of cryptocurrency. Again, the trend for this year has been upwards since we have been, for the most part, in an upwards trend for this year, and then we formed a pennant after being in an upwards trend. I like the the thought here is that this is a continuation consolidation, and that we are going to continue in an upward trend, and I'm not going to fight against that trend that has been around for almost the entirety of this year so far. So that's really my thoughts on Bitcoin. Again, seeing some other bullish factors on the MACD and the RSI, depending on what time scale you're looking at, but nothing too crazy besides just the squeeze that we are in. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, drop a like, drop a comment. I love being able to interact with you guys in the comment section down below. And if you guys really like the video and want to see more videos like this one, hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.